A young man reached out to me who was briefly incarcerated with two of the Whitmer hoax victims, Joe Morrison and Paul Beller. He reached out because he kind of wanted to be able to help the guys any way he could, to speak on their behalf and provide a sort of character witness. I'm going to keep his identity anonymous, so for the purposes of this video, I'm going to call him Sam. And he spent some time with them in Jackson County, and we had a long conversation, and I thought it was pretty interesting, so I'm going to edit that down, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so why don't you tell me, like, how you met them?
Okay. So I'm doing time, right? And I met Joe first, actually. Joe comes in. I didn't know who he was, you know. He says to someone, and I overhear him. He says, "Oh, you remember the Whitmer kidnapping plot? I was accused of that." I'm like, "Oh my God, for real?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so, over time we start talking. And, Joe, he's a really nice guy, actually. He's not what I was expecting him to be. I thought he was going to be, like, mean in his 50s, racist, but he really isn't any of those. Later on, Paul actually came in a cell with us, and I got to know him a little bit. Paul, he actually looked out for me while I was in there. He made sure I didn't go hungry. He
Aw.
made sure I had what I needed. Yeah, I guess over time, we hung out a little bit.
All right, interesting. Yeah, so just tell me, what you think of what your experience was with them. I mean, obviously they weren't what you were expecting.
No, not at all. Um, Paul, he introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, and I didn't, know him all that much until later on. I found out he was into the whole geeky thing, fantasy stuff, and I actually liked it. It was pretty cool. He took time out of um, his bid to have his dad send him some stuff for D&D to create the game and whatnot, and he would host games for us. We'd all play and create our little characters, all that fun stuff. Yeah, they separated them over an incident that took place in the cell, and later on they got to reunite with each other and go to Chandler Road, and they got to spend their time together again. And I was happy for Paul, but I missed him too.
So, compared to other people in there, I mean, what were they like?
Shoot, Paul, he was very generous. Actually, he looked out for everybody, and especially me, because him and I, we were cool, and we had similar situations. Chit chat about our lives back home and tell stories. And he really isn't anything that people would depict him as.
Right. Did you know like much about the story of like the Whitmer plot before you went in there, or you just heard about it on the news and didn't really know much about it?
Originally, I heard about it on the news, didn't know much about it. But at first, because I was a right-wing fanatic at the time, I did look up to the alleged plot. And then, later on, I started to chill out on that stuff. I end up in jail, and I get to meet Paul, and that's when I know more about it. He was clearly set up, and so was Joe. And plus, I think it was 5 guys who were acquitted
Yeah.
due to entrapment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they unfortunately were not able to call witnesses, introduce evidence. They couldn't talk about the other guys that had been acquitted at their trial. So, I mean, they didn't really. You can't really call it a fair trial. If you're not able to present a defense, this is not real. It's not like a real trial.
Yeah. I've heard that the people who were testifying also changed their stories up and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that nonsense.
Yeah, people perjured themselves. They had cops get up there and lie through their teeth. The feds went up there and lied. Their informants went up there and lied. And nothing has ever been done about that. What would you like people to know about Joe and Paul that might change their perceptions?
Well, they're not these old, mean, racist white guys that you guys thought they were. These guys are actually young. They're close to my age. I'm 23. Paul was like 24, 25 when I met him. And Joe, he was 30 last I remember.
Mhm.
And Joe, he's super religious. Actually, he's very caring. He prays at least once a day. And as I've stated previously, Paul, he looks out for everybody. He looked out for me, made sure I didn't go hungry. He included me in cook-ups and told me that if I ever need anything, let him know, and he'd provide it, such as like soap and such, because I didn't really get much. I actually lost a lot of weight in there because I wouldn't eat the jail food, so I smelled on hygiene. But he made sure I would eat.
Aw.
I actually feel bad for these guys, man. Hearing what they've been through.
Yeah.
I'm still to this day in the same situation. I'm out on bail right now, and I can fully get where they're coming from on everything. I really do. Yeah, oh yeah, Joe and Paul, they actually had a ritual together. They would have, they'd celebrate the littlest victories in there, though, because,
Aw.
they're in a bad place and they gotta do what they gotta do to keep themselves sane. So what they did is here and there they would share a coffee and what's it called, hot chocolate.
Aw.
Joe, you know how he said he was a father, right? Freaking, I've seen some pictures of him when he was younger. I didn't recognize him. He had less of a beard, and
Yeah.
he had a hat on and all this stuff. He was skinnier, too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's
And,
starting to look more
Paul,
like a
go ahead.
monk.
What?
With the beard, he's starting to look more like an Orthodox monk.
Yeah, he is. Paul, he actually told me one time that he enlisted in the military so he could fight for the country and do what was right. He wanted to help people and save lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what happened. This is, what the government ended up doing to somebody like that, who is like some of our best people. I mean, Paul, going back to when he was in high school, was a first responder. So he's responding to like emergency calls. He was doing like helping firefighters when he was in high school. So this is somebody who has always been about helping people, right? And trying to
Right.
do the right thing, and also like very mature for his age, because most people in high school are not working places like doing first responding calls and seeing car accidents and administering aid to people. That's more something an adult does. Going into a burning building, he was doing that in high school. So that's the kind of character he has.
Yeah, there's a big difference between those two and most of the others. That's why me and Paul got along so well. It's because they were trying to avoid trouble. They didn't want no issues with nobody, and they just stayed out the way, and, we're respectful, which is also what I was doing. It's why we got along so well. They didn't pick fights. They tried to avoid it. They didn't, smoke nothing. They didn't do anything they weren't supposed to, like tattoos, smoke green beans, or any of that stupid stuff.
Oh my goodness.
I believe this was in July of 24, all the way up until, so about 3 months with Paul. As for Joe, it was like one.
Okay. Did you get a chance to attend any of Joe's like Bible study?
I didn't, but I did get to witness him practicing, like such as praying and all that. I actually thought he was Muslim at first. He didn't really try preaching it to nobody, although he did like say openly that he is this. He never tried pushing his views on anyone. Always respected people's space.
How were they treated by like the guards, the staff? Were people cool with them, or did they
Oh
know who
yeah,
they were and like not like them?
people were actually cool with both of them. This one CO, he cracked a couple jokes here and there, talking about the governor and saying, "Oh, don't kidnap the governor. He won't come back here." He laughed about it. He wasn't serious about none of it.
They all kind of know that it like this was bullshit.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because there are some deputies from the jail that would often work in the courtrooms, and I
Oh.
think some of them may have been at Paul's trial as well as Joe's, and I'm sure word gets passed around between the guards because they do gossip a lot in there. When we were in the cell together, it was all three of us. There was this dude named Brandon that, got into it with another inmate. Dude left, and then Brandon, he had a broken nose, and Paul actually fixed it, no problem.
Oh. Wow. That sounds like Paul.
According to them, the judge's excuse as to why he sent them to the feds is because they're high profile. But,
Yeah, for their own
true.
safety, quote unquote. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're advocating for them, even though you didn't really know them that long. You knew Joe a month, Paul maybe 3. But obviously, they made that much of an impression on you that you felt, that you needed to reach out to me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. It's just when people are incarcerated, they get put on the news for a little bit, and after that, they're out of sight, out of mind. People forget all about them. It's like being dead. I don't mean to go too off topic, but I don't know what else to say about Joe and Paul other than I do support them, and I do hope that they succeed in this appeal.